Good evening, and welcome to the Voice of the People. My name is Lois DeMayo, and I will be hosting the show this evening. And with me, I have a guest, David Grudzicki. Good evening, Dave.
Good evening, Lois.
Dave is Area 2 candidate for We the People for the upcoming election, the municipal election. And Dave, we're glad to have you here tonight. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I grew up in Meriden.
A lot of bit about yourself,
There's a lot
about
me. I grew up in Meriden. Grew up on Britannia Street. Spent my younger days at Brookside Park and Little League Stadium. Went to school at Jonathan Trumbull. Then my parents moved up onto Orchard Street, which is off of Atkins Street, and I went to for junior high to Washington and Jefferson, and then on to Maloney, and graduated from Maloney 1967, and spent my years there in a lot of different things. Did a lot of sports, football, baseball, and 4 years of basketball.
Great. And so what are you doing now?
Now I'm retired. I've been retired for a year. I spent almost 50 years in pension services with a number of different financial services companies here in Connecticut and also Massachusetts and New Jersey. But now I'm...
Sound like a busy man.
Yeah, especially...
You're more busy now?
Now I'm more busy. As you know, I retired a year ago, but prior to that, one of my friends and old classmates from Maloney, Steve Robichaud, had started the concert series downtown, and we did that across from the police station in the little pocket park, and we'd have maybe 25, 30, on a good night we'd have 50 people. 3 years ago when the green opened up, we talked with the city manager and the city representatives and the park, city park, not the city park, the park department, and they didn't have anyone that could do anything that like we could do, get acts together and set up things, and so we made an agreement with them that we'd put on the move our shows to the green. And we started that 3 years ago. Initially in the first year, we probably had 100, maybe if we had 500 people on a night, that was big. But this past year was our signature summer. We did 11 shows. We averaged on our small shows 500 people. We had Coconuts there. We had Justin Picarillo. We had a couple of other groups. We had a Santana group because this year was the celebration of Woodstock's 50th anniversary. So we did 6 tribute bands where we brought in different bands, tributes from the 60s era. And our big event was Joby Rogers, who is the local resident and the Michael Jackson impersonator. And my estimates were 4,000 plus. Others said there was at least 5,000 people there.
Wow.
And this was the largest event so far held on the green, where we had close to 5,000 people down there for an afternoon and evening.
Wow, that's fantastic.
So that's one of the things I do, and we've carried that on with Steve Robichaud, who moved to North Carolina, and Carrie Teal and I, and we're still involved. But I also are with Restore with the Arts, and that is our signature group that runs the Twilight Concert Series. We also started up last year another group that is called the Yule Fest, and that's a celebration right after Thanksgiving on a Saturday where we had Colony Street closed off. We had a number of groups down there, bands, dance groups. We had games for the kids. We had about 30 vendors in the 24 Colony Street building. The Meriden ballroom, we had entertainment in there. We had entertainment out in the streets. And the highlight was Santa Claus coming in on a train. And he came up on the train and got off on the State Street side and walked across on the overpass. And I happened to be walking him, escorting him across, and we stopped at the window overlooking the little pocket park, and there had to be 2,000 kids down there just screaming and yelling and crying.
Really?
And it was just...
Now where's the ballroom?
Where's what?
You said the Meriden Ballroom?
Meriden Ballroom, that's on the old home bank on the corner of Church and Colony. So it's... it has the ability to hold events down there and for people to get in touch with them and hold some events downtown, indoor. Okay.
That's great. Sounds like a busy guy you are.
Yeah, well, Sorry about that.
You're involved in other,
Yes.
I know, neighborhoods.
Yes, I.
You know, you're talking about downtown, though. You know, downtown used to be fun.
Yes.
You know, you're not going to ever bring back the old downtown.
Right.
You got to make a new downtown. I mean, we used to walk the streets on a Friday night, and I can remember even the shopping
Mm-hmm.
when they started opening up stores. It wasn't just the square. The first store to open at nighttime was Stars.
True.
And when women found out that they didn't have to rush down at noontime to pick up their shoes and rush back to work without having a lunch, they could go home, have a supper, and then go shopping. And that's where downtown lost businesses, because you had Stars, you had King's, and then finally the square opened up.
Yep. You had Barker's department store.
Yes,
Also, up on
right.
East Main Street.
Right. So
Yeah, I actually started working part-time when I was in high school for Joe Lagana at Liberty Stores. He had bought out his two partners, who originally they were across the street where today we see the police station, and he moved the business to the corner of Grove and West Main. And I started working for Joe the day I turned 16. I was playing basketball, so I'd come in on the weekends. And I worked for him on and off all through high school, college. He always would say, "Hey, Dave, you playing any sports now? Okay, come and work for me." And if there was another kid there, he may keep him on for a while, but he'd let him go. But what I learned from Joe was he would stay open on a Thursday night, and it would just be him and I in the store. And a customer would come in looking, because Joe's they sold refrigerators, TVs. I mean, I was 16 years old when I started. Within a year or two, I learned to keep the customer. If Joe was with another customer, I learned how to talk with people and keep them in the store. So when Joe would finish up with a customer with, say, they were selling a refrigerator, a washer, or dryer, the next customer was still there. So I learned a lot from him. I learned a lot of.
he is the last original store down there.
Yeah, well,
now.
when you look, I mean, we're losing one of the other ones, Dunkin' Donuts, on the corner of Cook and West Main. They're shutting that one down. I talked to many
I
people.
thought so going by
Well,
there.
many people will say, what do you remember what do you remember that's there today that was downtown during our time? Liberty Stores, Dunkin' Donuts, but that's closing, the Y, Ferries, funeral home,
Yeah.
and then you go up Little Rendezvous. I mean, there's not really a lot from our era that's been downtown. So when people
No.
say, why can't Meriden be like it was? It's never going to be like it was.
No.
Okay?
You got to
But
do
we
a new
can revive
Meriden.
it. And that's where I have been involved with trying to hold events downtown, not just the Twilight Concert Series, the Yule Fest. I'm involved with the restoration and putting in plants downtown. We have a beautification committee. We have a donation from Casartanos 3 times. We're doing our 3rd planting in 2 weeks. We have about 28 flower boxes downtown. And we came in and we put in 2 plantings so far. We'll be putting in another planting in 2 weeks. And then we have a number of people that go down and water the plants and maintain them. And we have a group, we're getting some help from Eversource to help with the fall planting. We also have, I'm involved with the Wise Men. For those that don't know what the Wise Men is, Y, it is the letter Y. And it's a group of gentlemen my age who meet. We just had our first meeting for the new year this morning, Tuesday morning. We meet at 10 o'clock at the Y, and there are about 110 members. Mike Rohde is the chairman this year, and we have a guest speaker. We started off this year with Dave Cooley, from who right now is Making Meriden Business, but he does a trip to Africa and works with the University of Hartford, helping to come up with some technology, water, ways to move water, dig wells, etc. in Kenya. So he did a presentation this morning. So we have guest speakers that come in and spend about a half an hour, 45 minutes. We've had some great speakers. We had the 2 I liked last year was a gentleman who came in and talked about Sikorsky and his 3 everybody thinks of him with the helicopters. Well, he had one of the fastest, he had the speed record, water speed record, the fastest boat at one time.
Oh,
And they did water planes, and then of course the helicopters. And then the other one was, and I'm in the process of getting it done, was a gentleman who lives in East Haddam who produced a book. It's 169 towns of Meriden. And in there, 169 towns of Connecticut, excuse me. And there's 2 pages with all highlights about each town, and then there's a section to get a signature of some dignitary in town or a restaurant or something indicating you've been there. So the goal is to get every 669 towns visited.
wow.
Yeah, so that's pretty, those are my 2 highlights from
That's
last year.
remarkable.
Yes.
What made you want to run for city council?
Well, I started going to some of the council meetings and listening initially, and then I started participating in the public comment. Also became concerned as to the direction the city is going with some of the spending. Are we spending smart, or are we just spending? Also, some of the things. I mean, let's return some common sense to the council too. Not some, just because somebody has an idea or a goal to have some building or something built, is it an ideal thing to rebuild Meriden? Is it going to bring other companies to Meriden? Is it going to help reduce the tax burden for yourself and I, who are residents and burdening a lot of the taxes here in Meriden?
So what is it going to do for
What's it going to do? Right. Let's just not.
the people of Meriden?
Right. Let's not just do something for the city that somebody says, "Oh, this will be great," but what does it really do for the city? So it's something we got to look at with the new council when it comes in.
And this is it. People have got to keep in mind, anything that is done is for the people out there voting for you.
Right.
You're there to do a job. The people elected you to represent them,
Correct.
and not represent
It's got to be interests of the people, not the self-interest.
Yeah, right, exactly. We have a fundraiser coming up, We the People.
Yes.
We have a fundraiser coming up on the 29th of September, and it's going to be, I hope, very successful. It's a rib roast festival, and it's going to be the pavilion at American Legion,
On Hanover.
and we're featuring Dan La Rosa coconuts.
Right. Dan's an old friend of mine, and I'm looking forward to the coconuts being down there. And
You were instrumental in getting Dan for us.
thank you.
They put on a great show.
Yes, we had them down the green this past summer. We had over 1,000 people down there for their show. So they have a big following. We're not just looking for the people who are their followings to be there. Come on down, meet myself and the other candidates from We the People, and we'd like to get to know you. I'm Area 2. A lot of people know me from the various events that I work on downtown, and also going to all the neighborhood association meetings.
Right.
I mean, that was even before I considered running for council. I just started going to those meetings to find out what are the people really concerned about, what is really going on in town, aside from what you read in the newspaper or you may see on social media, because what you see on social media may be, just as a newspaper, it's skewed based on the reporter or the person documenting
Right.
the events. So,
But like you say, come on down and meet the candidates. There's Geetha Cottrell for Area 1. There's you for Area 2. Area 3 is Joe Villano.
right,
Area 4 is Mike Carabetta.
right.
Mike did one heck of a job
With the referendum, yes.
with the referendum and signing the petitions. And he walked door to door to door to door.
Then we have the 2 at large.
We have 2 at large, Bob Williams and Dan Zabrowski.
Right.
So
come on down.
Republicans.
And meet them and have some good ribs. Listen to the coconuts, and
Right.
you don't have to. If you see me around town, I'm down to downtown coffee shop a lot, down at Tina's. Just stop me because I'm downtown a lot. I spend a lot of time walking around. One of the items is, the green, the stigma of the green. Believe me, it's a safe. I'll get up sometimes 1 o'clock in the morning, say I need to go for a walk. I'll drive down to the green and walk the green in the middle of the night.
Really?
And I've never run into any problems. I've walked to people and had conversations with families at 10, 11 o'clock at night, just walking around the green. They're new to Meriden, and they decided to, they made, one family I met just moved into the Commons, and talked with them and their children, and they were out at 11 o'clock at night just walking on the green on a Saturday night, enjoying themselves.
Okay, now the Commons, are they just to replace the mills?
I don't think that to replace the mills, because they're supposed to be distributing the residents who lived in the mills throughout the city. So it's supposed to be a mixed use apartments. We are finally getting a business opening there in the next month. The deli fried chicken place is going to open in the next month. They've been delayed for quite a while. The place I'd love to see open, and that's really been a sore subject, and that is 24 Colony Street, which is still the bottom floor. The apartments are all full, but not a single business coming in there.
No.
So we're at a Wise Men meeting this morning, and again, there's 110 older men who did a lot for Meriden, and one of the things Mike Rohde even brought up, and Dave Cooley, who was there, is if you know anybody, we're looking for that one startup business or one business to move downtown there to kick things off. I've done my part, again, on the events, trying to hold events, get the people downtown. We had a great event 2 Sundays ago where we had the murals. I hope everybody's come down and seen the murals on Bannister Court, which is by Tina's, by the coffee shop. There's an Alice in Wonderland mural there. There's Apollo Maldonado's Wings across from Church Street on Colony. There's a couple of electric boxes that Eddie Rivera has painted, and he's got some other ideas going on. I'm not only just events, I am also involved with one of the businesses downtown. I am a part owner of All Sketched Out also, which is the digital art business on Colony Street, right next on 5 Colony Street. Great thing to come down to. Apollo has digital art where he can accommodate, I believe it's up to 6 people, come down, and you can sign up and register and pay the fee, and you can come down and draw art on a computer. And what's nice about it is it's just like using any type of a brush, a paint, a pencil, and you draw, and if you need to erase something, you just erase it. You don't have to paint it over. You can just back up and paint it. And
now,
then
can anybody come
Yes.
down and just observe?
You can come down, sure, call up Apollo. Yeah, call up Apollo, All Sketched Out, and come on down, and he'll explain. If he's in the office down there, he'll take all the time to explain what it's all about. I went down and did do one session myself with some other people, and we go down in the evening and bring down some cheese, crackers, maybe some wine. He brings the lighting down, has some nice music. Spend about maybe half an hour explaining how to use it, and you get about an hour and a half to doing your own painting. And he has some people that are down there doing, for extended periods of time, doing very, very detailed sketches and art productions.
Wow.
And then you can print them out on a canvas. He has 2 different size canvases, and you can print them out.
Really?
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. And he's working with some of the hospitals, in some of the schools, in some of the senior centers. Things are starting to move along where he'll be doing that, such as somebody maybe going in for chemotherapy and they're just sitting there. This could be something they could do, or it could help with other aspects of a medical care. So he's involved with Hartford Healthcare. So some things are just about to take off, and he's going to be doing some work with them and helping with patients.
That's very interesting.
Yes, yes.
And
So
I didn't know anything of it.
Right. Well, that's it. You come on downtown, stop at 5 Colony Street, talk with Dave Cooley, Lisa Bisick, and they'll tell
I
you what's
know
going on.
somebody, or I don't know them personally, but there was a business that wanted to stop in, and check out a storefront on Colony Street, and was seriously considering moving a business in there. And the place was completely empty, no ductwork or anything. And so that would be up to the renter
Right.
to put in all the ductwork and everything. And that's what scares people away. They'll go someplace where there is ductwork already.
That's part of the issue with 24 Colony Street.
Yeah.
You know, because they've got to then build it to fit whatever tenant's coming in there. You know, they're not going to take up the whole space. They're going to take up a small space, a larger space. We've had a couple of breweries that have thought about coming in, tasting. So the people to talk to, as I said, Dave Cooley, Lisa down at 5 Colony Street, Making Meriden Business. They can direct people. So if you hear of anybody, even contact me. North End, which is Area 2, I've got some concerns up there. I mean, North End, you've got the mall. Mall is part of that. Where's the mall going? A lot of that shutting down. We've got an old building on Britannia Street. I believe it's still, I don't know if it's still in the Railroad Salvage family.
Right over the tracks?
Right over the tracks on Britannia. That's falling apart. That should be, something should be done about that, like we've done with the hospital. We've done with the old factory, International Factory on by Chapigas, you know, tore that all down. There's an old building sitting up on Colony Street. So there's a lot of concerns. Some of the crime rate, people are concerned with some of the shootings in town.
Yeah.
You know, what's going on. We have our North End Community Watch Group. President of the North End is Steve Cardillo, and he does a fabulous job up there. We hold our monthly meetings, or have been holding them at New Opportunities, but New Opportunities is moving downtown. They're going to be in the old Middlesex Community College building on the third floor on October 1st.
On the third floor?
On the third floor, yeah. Which is going to be good because it gets them downtown to maybe where there's more of a need for the families. So, but they'll be moving down there.
Now, what meetings are those?
Thursday nights, that's the North End Community Watch, Neighborhood Watch. They meet Thursday nights. There's a number of them that meet. There's I don't have the exact dates, but if you go onto the Meriden, City of Meriden website, there's a calendar out there, and you can connect with the Neighborhood Watch, and Holly Wills is the president. But there are meetings up at the First Baptist Church up on Broad Street. That's another Neighborhood Watch. There's one at the Emmanuel Lutheran group downtown. The library has like the Liberty Street, East Main area. They meet down at the library. But if you check, come on down. And what we also get is police officers, some of the neighborhood initiative police officers, or even now that that force has been reduced, we do get police officers there who can answer questions, because maybe, you know, you may read something in the paper or see it on social media. Is that really what it's about? Is that really what's going on? And they can clarify things for you and let you know what's going on down there. So, and we also have a community garden up on Tremont Street that the North End community did.
Oh, really?
Yeah. My friend and I, Sandy, we had 2 plots up there, and we just, tomatoes and peppers and pumpkins. We just pulled 4 pumpkins out of there, 4 orange pumpkins. So the whole there's I forgot 27 or 28 plots up there, 9 by 9. We have different people who are growing their own vegetables. So.
And where is that?
On Tremont Street. Tremont is off of Britannia, where Little League Stadium is, right there. Just go up there.
Yep. See, I had no idea about that.
Yeah, there's another one up on the corner of Liberty and Center Street.
That one there, I've seen.
Yep.
Only because I've seen driving by.
Yeah.
But these places are never brought to people's attention, you know.
Well,
put a picture in the paper.
I know. So that's how I found. We're just starting to ask and going to meetings and just wandering around. South Meriden has theirs at the South Meriden Fire Department, the Neighborhood Watch meeting. So monthly.
Right. So. South Meriden is pretty active. Well, since they pulled the community police, Freddie Rivera's not there.
Yep.
Is in the office, but Bob Williams always held his meetings there. too, for the neighborhood. It's getting the people interested, though.
It is.
You know,
Well, it's
to
getting,
stop in and see what it's about.
Right, like we just had on on Broad Street, from 691 to Britannia Street. We've had a discussion going on about they want to put although they haven't filed, but I've seen actually the sketches and everything, they want to put a car wash on the corner of Twist Avenue and Broad Street across from Ted's. And
Oh, all right.
we're kind of fighting that because of, where's that water going to go? It's right along Harbor Brook. Harbor Brook is palpable water from Crescent Lake, Jafrita Park, all the way down to Broad Street. That's drinkable water in Harbor Brook. And there's a deer herd down there. We've counted as many as 8 deer down in that little acreage down there between Orchard Street, the brook, and Twist.
Oh, really?
Yep. So now the state came in and they changed Broad Street. So now from 691 going north up to Orchard Street, the bottom part next to the doghouse, where the doghouse is, they made it so that
where's Doghouse?
The doghouse was the old Quality Time.
Oh, all right.
Okay. All right. So they made it so that through traffic is on the far left and far right, and your turn lane is in the middle now. So we have, in addition to them wanting to put that car wash in, we have Dunkin' Donuts coming in across from Cumberland Farms. Coming here tonight, because it was rush hour, traffic was backed up from 691 all the way up to Britannia Street. And we're getting, they still haven't finished all the linings properly, so you get people now that are, they hit that section by Orchard Street and they're going southbound. And because traffic's backed up, they'll race down the middle lane. I was almost hit head-on twice because I was making a left turn into the Dairy Queen twice last week. And people just not paying,
See, that's what you get for going to Dairy Queen. They were watching out for you.
Yeah, instead of lessons, huh? Yeah.
No, we just had our street paved today.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, that's Main Street in South
Mhm.
Meriden. It's so interesting to watch. Last week they dug up the whole street.
Yep, they milled it. Yep.
Exactly. It was the same trucks coming back. And the one guy that's been rolling both sides all day long. They started this morning. They laid one half down this morning and the other half this afternoon. But only as far as River Road. After that, it becomes a state road.
Mm-hmm.
So the city took care of its part, and it's beautiful right now. So smooth. We're so used to dodging, going up the hill.
Yeah, we're the same way because not only is Broad Street the state, but then they did Atkins Street from Broad Street all the way up to Nathan Hale. So, but they still have to do some more work on it. But at least it's nice and smooth now because they dug it up the last 2 years for the replacing the gas lines. So that was a mess. Atkins Street. It was bumpy.
Right.
Yes.
But it's a very interesting project to watch the whole thing. Yeah. But tonight, or this afternoon, coming home, we had to go all the way around because there was just that one lane open, and they couldn't make it 2 ways on that. You know how sometimes they'll stop the traffic and let the other side come?
Way, then the other, yeah.
And they weren't doing that, so we had to go all the way around and come out Jepson Lane, which, took, and nobody knew where they were going, of course. If you're from South Meriden, you kind of figure it out, but that was really a big detour.
Well, I'm sure you get this like I do now that I've been to the neighborhood watch and a lot of events and people know I'm up in the North End. I get calls from people up in the area too and around the area. Hey, can you help us out with this? What do we do? How do we get this done? And I've been trying to help some groups.
That's very good.
Point them in the right direction, get them connected with the right people down at City Hall so they can come down. We had our North End neighborhood watch last week. We brought up the fact that there's at the council meetings, there's a public comment time, 3 minutes allotted. There's no interchange with the counselor, with the council or anything, but you can go up and state your concerns or what's going on. I usually go up and try to be positive about the positive things that are going on.
Right.
And it's the same group of people. Joe Villano, myself, Art Petroselli, it's always the same ones down there making comments. Ernestine.
I used to do it all the time too.
Right.
And
So what the people there at that, some of them didn't even know about this. So there was concern about the officers for the NI office, and we told them, come on down. You get your 3 minutes to talk. So there seemed to be some excitement. So we'll see what happens next week, I believe. Next Monday is the next council meeting. So see if we get some people down there at least voicing. So it's not just the same people always hearing. They're always hearing from the same group of us,
And the only other time, God, I remember going one night, and it was a hearing, not a hearing, but speaking in favor of the one woman that was illegal.
Mm-hmm.
And they all had T-shirts on with her name to save her, and you couldn't even get into the room.
Right.
They were backed up out in the hall. But some of these people were from out of town. Most of them were from out of town.
Yeah,
and talking with them, you don't see that at the council meetings.
No, and then what happens at a lot of those, or if there's a special presentation, which they do every council meeting, you get that group that shows up, and as soon as that's done, they're gone.
They're gone. Right. Exactly.
And we're sitting there, and we just look at each other. And
I know just what you mean.
We have our names down, and we all know pretty much what we're going to talk about, and we do talk about each other in a positive way, sometimes in a negative, but we try to be positive. I know Joe Villano usually jumps on some things that I've talked about that are positive and says how this, as an example, the Twilight Concert Series, that's not in the city's budget. We get no money from the city. It's not in the budget. We raised all the funds ourselves to put those acts on, 11 shows this summer. So we raised all that money ourselves, and we actually just finished the books. And
by local merchants?
Local merchants, yep, all through sponsors, funds, we're about a couple $100 on the plus side after this year.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. So we managed to do it, and we didn't approach the city for any funds, so we're not in the budget. So it can be done.
It can be done, and this is the same thing with town committees.
Mm-hmm.
Ours is We the People. You got the Republican Town Committee. You got the Democratic Town Committee. That is what you raise money for, is for candidates.
Right.
That's supposedly what your treasurer should be. Yes, if you got to pay your rent for meetings or little expenses like that. But the bulk of your money is raised for candidates. And that's a tough time. You got to put on these fundraisers, and you got to really hit the ground running and push it.
Right.
But just like ours, what is in the treasury now is a big portion of it that's going to be gone for entertainment. Now you hope to replenish that plus to be able to help out the candidates.
So those
that's
people
your
out,
sole purpose.
So those people out there listening, come on down on
That's
September
right.
29th.
Because that is your sole purpose of the town committees, is to support candidates.
Right. And again, people will say, well, why, as you said, why am I running? I have no self-interest in it. I just want the council to use some common sense. Let's work for the people. Not, as I said, not somebody's self-interest because they think that's a great thing. I would love to know who some of their constituents are that they always refer to. My constituents, who I talk to. I'd love to know who they are. I can tell you all the ones I've talked to.
Right. How's your campaign going?
Well, it's just starting to hit off right now. I've delayed it a little bit because I thought it was a little bit too early, because having come from an area, private industry where, marketing and stuff, you can get out there too early and people just lose interest.
Yeah.
So you want to get out there where you're going to keep your name and your personality and the people are following you and they know who you are, and they'll be out there.
I always advise people, not to put their signs up too early.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm running down the street, up and down the street, going home, coming from home, and seeing that sign early, by next month, I'm not really seeing it anymore.
Yeah.
But if a new one pops up someplace, that's the one that's going to catch your eye.
Right. It's an interesting you bring that up because like the Twilight Concert Series, the Yule Fest, the Wise Men, Farmers Market. That's another one I'm involved with. The Farmers Market. Come on down on Saturday mornings. We're down there till October 19th.
You have your own.
I'm part of the Farmers Market Committee also, so it's another one I'm involved.
But don't you have
we
a table of your own?
My friend, but we don't do it for the farmers market. I have a friend of mine who I'm in business with that we do soaps, natural soaps and oils and rubs and different things. So I support her and she comes down. But one of the things we did at the farmers market, again, we were looking to see how can we help the community. Well, one of the things, I'm new. They call me the rookie. It's my first year really with the farmers market. And they were looking, we need to be able to communicate to the Spanish population. So they were looking for somebody that was bilingual, and they were having trouble. I said, nobody asked me. I said, one of my best friends, she's bilingual, and she's got a daughter-in-law that's looking for make a few bucks. They wanted to pay her, so they come down, and they're both. Yubi is down there every Saturday. She's bilingual. Starts at 8:30. Sometimes I pick her up or her husband and drive it down. The Spanish people are lined up waiting for her. Waiting. So she can tell them, take care of their doubling of dollars and explain what it's all about. And they're just waiting to talk with her. Sandy's down there, they talk with her also. And it's kind of interesting. So I think it's been a great feature for the farmers market. And it's really drawn in a lot of the Hispanic population that didn't understand what doubling dollars was about. And doubling dollars is if you get your coupon booklet from the Senior Center or WIC, we have funds where every week, we will double 2 of those $3 coupons. So you start with $6, we'll give you 2 more coupons. Now you have $12 to spend. You don't have to spend those that day, just as long as you have to spend it by the 19th. And there are craft vendors down there. We have music down there. This past weekend, we had our second big event where we had a bicycle event where they talked to them about safety, had them going through an obstacle course. So Mike Rody and the group,
That's great to do.
It's I hate to say it, it's a bunch of old white guys running this thing, and so that's why we looked out now to the Spanish community, and through Juby and Sandy, being able to communicate to them, and they understand now what the doubling dollars is about, or really what's going on. And great vegetables down there. I just had some sweet corn last night for supper that I got down on Saturday morning.
Really? Yeah.
Oh, it was excellent.
Yeah.
It was excellent.
So everybody is selling different items, or?
Yeah, I believe there's 6 farmers down there now, and there's a couple. One is selling flowers. Another vendor has honey. There was a woman from New Haven this week. She was doing a lot of teas. Different types of teas. The summer for the schools, they were doing the lunch program. So on Saturdays, they came down and they were doing the lunch program on Saturdays for the kids at our farmers market, and the parent or the adult with them also got a free meal. So that worked out really well.
Really nice.
And we also had Kasha down there who was doing food demonstration. Katja, I can't remember her last name at the moment, but if you go on the website, she was doing some food demonstrations and prepares little samples down there. It's great. She does some, and she gets all the ingredients right there at the farmers market to do it. So that's really good. So we've had some great turnouts. I mean, we've had several hundred people down there every Saturday. Come on down this Saturday, 8:30, 8:30 to noontime, and check it out. There's some. Peaches are now coming in, and apples are starting to arrive, and a lot of good stuff. So,
excuse me for a minute.
So it's another thing I'm involved in, and neighborhood watch, downtown. We did that downtown extravaganza where I was talking about where we closed off the street alongside on West Main where the mural was. And we invited kids down, and we know we had over 200 people there because we were giving away hot dogs, and we did at least 200 hot dogs. So between the kids, and we had paintings, we made tripods. I think we had 10 or 12 of them, and the kids came in and did paintings on the tripods. We provided the stuff. We had cones. We had a face painter. We had a balloon lady down there doing bubbles and balloons. So it was a good time. Closed off the street, and the kids had a good time, and people wandered over to Colony Street to see the wings down there. And also, what we also did through part of the beautification program, come on down to Colony Street and Railroad Avenue. We have paintings in a lot of the empty storefronts, just to dress them up a little bit.
Okay, you just mentioned wings. What is that?
That's a mural that Apollo did right across from Church Street on the old La Rosa
Building?
where the wall was there, the wooden wall, had the Italian flag there for a while.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
right.
now it's wings. So that's some of the things. We have more murals coming, more paintings, because Gallery 53 is like the oldest establishment in Connecticut. And just trying, through the arts, bringing people downtown. We've got a lot of artists, a lot of, not just young, we've got some old, because think of the artists that worked. When you think art, think of the crafters that worked with International Silver, making all the intricate mugs and all the designs on the knives and forks and everything, the real stylists. So those are they're still around. There's still some of them around. I mean, my parents worked for International Silver.
Well, I knew one of them, gosh, I can't think of his name, but it was a relative of a relative type thing. I can't think of his name right now, but he worked for years for International Silver, and he was a designer.
Yeah, yep, the designers. My parents were factory workers. My mom grew up here in Meriden.
Yeah, my dad too.
I'm half Italian, so that was the Italian. Yep, I had relatives work for New Departure or International Silver.
My dad worked.
Yep. Then they moved out of town.
And my mom, believe it or not, was assistant city clerk.
Oh.
Back when she started working for Ruth Payne, and then went through the other city clerks. Ended up, I think Dolores Pollard was her last one. But these are the ties of Meriden.
Oh yes, yeah.
Do you have any chance of going like door to door or holding a coffee unit and inviting your constituents?
We're talking about, we're going to firm some things up this week about down at the doghouse on a weeknight, having people come on down, meet me, maybe a couple of others, do some fundraising down there. I'm downtown if you want to stop by, or let me know. I'm usually down at the coffee shop down there for lunch. Great soups down there, homemade soups.
Now where is that?
That's at the corner of Barrister and West Main, right next to across from the police station. Okay.
Oh, all right, on that side.
Downtown
Okay.
coffee shop. Yep.
Okay.
Tina makes them. They're all homemade soups. She and I, last year when I was working on the Yule Fest, I was down there 24/7, and I got to meet her because she had just started the business, taken over the business in September. So I'd go over and have my soups, and sometimes I'd be down there at closing and get just talk with her for an hour or two because I needed to warm up. I was working over on Colony Street, and got to know her and fell in love with her soups. I told her it's just like my mom's and my dad's old soups. My dad was a pretty good cook. He came from Pennsylvania and moved here. Moved here in the 40s. Came from a farm in Pennsylvania. Came here, didn't want to work in the mines, and had a family of 11. So most of them moved to Meriden. So both the Italian side and the Polish side. I have my lines going back throughout Meriden. Still have relatives here. I did move away from Meriden for a while. Lived up in northeastern Connecticut where I raised my family on a small farm. I had a 10-acre place, and we raised a lot of our own foods, all our own vegetables. I got that love from my father because he grew up on a farm.
Yeah.
I tell people, I said, the size of my garden was, an average of 100 to 125 tomato plants, just the tomato plants alone.
Wow.
But I, raised my own chickens, rabbits, ducks, pigs.
Really?
Yep. Butchered them myself with my dad. Made my own kielbasa, my own hams, cured my own hams and pork chops. And first two pigs I'd love to tell. There's two stories I'd love to tell, and if you let me indulge me for a moment. One is that our first 2 pigs. My mom was Gina, and her sister was Lena. Very well known over at Mount Carmel and Lewis Avenue. That's where they grew up, Springdale Avenue. And we butchered them in the middle of winter, having pork chops, a ham, bacon, kielbasa. The kids would always say, geez, I wonder if we're eating Lena or Gina tonight. They knew what we raised. And then my other story I love to tell is we had rabbits. And we had a doe, a brownie, and she would have a lot of litters. And we didn't have many neighbors. I lived across the road from an Yale's 8,000 forest, Yale Forest, 8,000 acres. So I had very few neighbors. So my son would come home from school. He'd go down and water the rabbits and talk with, there was a rock, and he'd talk with Brownie, the big brown. And I got a call from my wife, and she's saying, Dan's upset, he came home, Brownie is dead. Oh my goodness. So I come home, he wouldn't talk with her, I come home, we're talking, and he's, talking about death, and that happens, and he says, Dad, I understand that. So I said, Dan, what's really bothering you? We didn't get to eat her.
Oh.
Because he knew what we raised. Turkeys, rabbits, chickens, ducks. Yeah, it was to eat, so.
Yeah, I have in-laws that, they all came from Pennsylvania in the mines.
Whereabouts?
Nanticoke.
Oh my goodness, no. That's where my father's from. Nanticoke, Dorrance, up on the hill. Later they went up.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think where else. God,
Honey
it was
Pot.
so long ago.
Honey Pot, which was a suburb there of Nanticoke.
No, Nanticoke and...
oh yeah, went back there. I went back there a few years ago just to look at it.
I'm surprised I remembered that name.
Yeah, Nanticoke,
That's
Scranton,
how long
Wilkes-Barre.
ago it was.
Yeah.
Wilkes-Barre.
Yep, Wilkes-Barre.
Yeah.
Yep, Scranton.
And my mother-in-law at that time, my kids were the first 2 grandchildren born, and they were both girls. She had 5 boys. So needless to say, I was very spoiled being the first girl in the family. But the kids, if they would trip or fall playing or something, I'd say, you got your Polish shoes on today? And one day she corrected me. She says, they are not Polish, they are Slovak.
Oh.
So I figured, well, that's a fancy name for it.
Well, it's...
I didn't pull that anymore.
It's like my grandfather. When he got his naturalization papers, they had Russia on it, because probably where he lived, it was up in the mountains there. I think it's the Skemp Mountains. Probably Russia in the morning, Poland in the afternoon, switch back and forth. So my grandmother crossed it off and wrote Poland. That's where he was from.
Yeah, they were very definite about that.
But yeah, so I remember, Nanticoke, the coal mines up in the hills there.
Yeah.
At night, watching all the little carts running around. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure if we
there was
did
a
some,
big
I'm sure if we
family
did some history, we'd probably find we're maybe related.
Well, that could be.
Could be,
I would be your older sister.
Yeah.
Where did you go to school now? In Meriden?
In Meriden, I went to Trumbull Elementary School.
Yeah.
Kindergarten through 1st through 6th grade, and I actually still am in contact periodically with my kindergarten teacher and my 6th grade teacher. They're still alive.
Wow.
Yeah, Maureen Kane and Ada Tiazzi Gianfrido. I talked with her probably about once every 6 months. Then I went on to Washington, and Jefferson reopened for junior high school. We called it junior high back then, not middle school.
Yeah, that's
and then on
we
to
did
Maloney.
too.
On to Maloney for 4 years. And
Junior high, I always thought Jefferson would have been the perfect place for the police station, which were right across the street at the time.
it was, yeah, right there on Mill. Yeah,
And
Miller.
it wouldn't have been in the center of town.
Right.
But
Powers that be
yeah,
did what they did.
a little too late, too much. What do you think about the bridge now?
Personally,
love
I
the
love.
green.
Personally, I love the bridge. I love the bridge. It's an icon now. Let's stop complaining about it. It's there. It's an icon. It's Meriden's icon. It's like Castle Craig. Now we have the bridge also. Okay, Hubbard Park. Well, when you think of the green, people think of the bridge. I love that they think of the bridge. Talk about it. Give people to talk about it.
I always thought, even before they trucked that in, you had a red bridge sitting right there, which meant something to the people.
Could have brought that up there. True.
You know.
I mean, my mom spent time down there. at old Dawson Beach and
Oh,
all that area.
yeah. Oh, that was a favorite parking place
Oh.
for teenagers, Dawson
That and
Beach.
and that in Castle Craig,
Yeah.
the road up to
Yeah.
Castle Craig, which was open 24/7 back then.
Yeah, it was. And that's okay if you weren't afraid of heights. I was afraid of heights, right? I took my kids up to the tower once.
Really, I go up many times during the summer, and I meet people up there, and they start, what's that, and oh, that's Sleeping Giant. You can actually see on a clear day, you can see Mount Tom all the way up in Holyoke to the north from the top of the tower. And then I tell them, they ask me how old I am, and I said, oh, actually, I was here before I was born. Because my mom used to love to go up there when I was a little kid, so I know she was up there when I was probably in her stomach.
I went once. I took the kids once, and I wouldn't let them look over for anything.
No?
Don't look there. Don't move here. Don't bend
Well, now
there.
we have.
I had to come down the stairs backwards because
Really?
those stairs were those that you could see through.
Mm-hmm.
I came down the stairs backwards on a Sunday afternoon with everybody walking by me wondering what was wrong with me. That was the only way I could get down from there, and never went up there again.
So you haven't gone up to the night viewing?
No.
Once a month, during the season, full moon. It's open till 9 o'clock, I believe. On the full moon night, you can go up there and watch the moon sunset and the moon rise. I love to go up in October, November. That's when there's really some beautiful, bright, big moons that come up. And it's really pretty.
Good.
I've been doing it for a few years.
I go out on my deck and look at it.
Yeah, because it wasn't open for years, and then I worked with some of the city councilors and the Parks Department people to get it open, and now it's become a standard to have it open every month for the full moon viewing. And I know Kathy Matula, who's the Parks Department director. She's been holding some yoga classes up there also. On those nights also.
Wow.
Yeah. So getting people
Yeah.
to utilize
She's
it.
the director. Mark DeBoer retired, right?
Yeah, Mark Borden. Chris Borden is the director, and Kathy Matula is the program director
And
for
I think Jane Ernst is retired.
Yeah, she
also.
retired a few years ago. Yep, I know Jane. Yes.
Yeah. So, there's been a lot of changes at City Hall. A lot of people that have retired.
Yeah, a lot of retired. I happen to be on the pension committee, so I'm seeing
Now,
a
what
lot
do you
of.
think about the ones coming back just for straight pay?
Well, there's not that many of them that are doing that. I think there was something blown out of proportion in the paper. I don't know the exact number, but it's not as many as people think it is. I do like Riata Bertoli, who's our new planning person. She's really trying to make things easier, because that's a reputation that Meriden has for businesses. It's so hard to start a business up or get through all the red tape. One of the things I know they're working on, I went to a meeting last month, I believe it was, is the signage. A lot of the signage downtown and around town. It's sometimes, it's getting to look a little ghetto-y at times.
Too much, yeah.
Too much. People are just putting up any type of sign they want on their storefront. You can't even see inside some of the stores, these little stores. So it hampers the police to even know what's going on inside there sometimes, So.
I saw one man using the window as a mirror.
Mm-hmm. Sure. People don't know what we do have. I found out last year through the Yule Fest. There was the Smilo, last winter there was a Smilo commercial, Smilo being the New Haven Cancer Research.
Yeah.
And they had a commercial where they were showing I forget what it's called, Mob Mash, I believe, or whatever it's called, where it was at the Union Station, and all of a sudden all these people started dancing, these kids started jumping up and dancing and singing, and that's the commercial. That's a group here in Meriden that's done that. They're the ones that did it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so there's a lot of things that I wasn't aware of, and I'm finding out more and more of what the businesses are that we have here in Meriden that are really known throughout the state and the country.
Yeah.
Doing a lot of business. So
I even, helping out a relative, I have questions about a form that he received. And I thought, I'm going to run down the senior center and see if somebody there can help me out with it.
Sure.
It's a form for, an elderly, and it's a state form. And there's nothing really to fill out, but I have questions about it, what
Sure.
it is and what it's for. So it was suggested, why don't you run down the senior center and ask?
Sure.
Never thought of it,
Yeah.
I've been on the phone trying to call them, and after 20 minutes waiting, I finally hang up,
Yep. I know.
So that would be the thing. But these are things that people don't know. I didn't know.
Right. I mean, we were down again with the farmers market when they were handing out the booklets at the senior center. They were down there for 3 or 4 days, and again, the farmers market. We brought down Juby and Sandy, the bilingual people, to help explain what the doubling dollars is all about. So people weren't there because what happens is they've got their booklet, they have their coupons, and what they were doing, they were going and using their coupon, and then instead of coming to us first and taking that $3 coupon and giving them another one to match it.
Right.
So we could do 2 of those every Saturday, and then they go from having $6 of buying power to $12.
To 12, right.
So that helped. So we were explaining that to them at the senior center, which helped a lot. So that's why we've seen a real surgence in the Spanish population coming down and using that. And the elderly, because they were able to talk to us too, because instead of some young person, they would come up more to a elderly person and talk to them and ask what that's about. So we found that really worked well. So there's a lot of resources in Meriden. We're putting together one of the things I've worked with making Meriden business, and we get a lot of requests because I'm involved with it, and some of others, they'll come to us and say, hey, I want to hold an event down at the Green. And I go, I'm really not the person. I said, I can sort of walk. So we've actually put together, they're working on a booklet that will have all the information. They'll put it on the city's website, and it'll tell if you want to hold an event at Hubbard Park, the Green,
Who to contact, where.
what you need to consider, licenses, if you're having food trucks, health permits, police, the city, all the support, who you need to talk to about getting everything approved. So.
Okay, we're almost done with an hour already.
Wow, already?
Already.
And I think we were concerned a little bit. Could we do an hour?
Could we do an hour? No.
And I told you, I'll talk forever.
Dumb of me, right? Yes. But so the last thing I want to do is promote our fundraiser again. Yes. It's a barbecue festival being held the 29th of September from 1 to 6 at American Legion Pavilion on Hanover Street. And the entertainment will be Dan, La Rosa, and
coconuts.
And coconuts.
And the coconuts.
No, the coconuts.
Yeah, come on down.
Coconuts. Come
on down. If you see me or any of the We the People, we have tickets, so come on down and stop us.
Or contact us. We'd be glad to help you out. So, Dave, it's been a pleasure. I wish you good luck.
Thank you. Thanks for all the support.
Yes, and that's what we're there for.
Right. Right.
And I think we're signing off for the evening. So I will say good night to our viewing audience, and join us again next week on The Voice of the People. My name is Lois DeMayo.